All right, everybody, this is Kyle T. Mosley of the Black Sports Insiders. In a few minutes, we will be live in full effect with the whole crew. You guys stay tuned. Just sit tight. Be ready for a good show tonight. If you have any problems, you can always go to hbcu-plus.com to be able to watch the stream, or you can go to our YouTube channel on either HBCU Legends or Black Sports Insiders to be able to watch the stream there as well. We'd like to get you guys to interact with us throughout the show. Comment. Also, smash up the likes as much as possible. We're excited to be able to give you some great topics coming your way tonight. We have Coach Chennis Berry out of South Carolina State, the Bulldogs, who almost pulled off the upset. And we have Coach Damon Wilson, who did make his mark at Morgan State, and it was a big win for that program as well as the Bears. So sit tight. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, guys, it's Kyle T. Mosley here from the Black Sports Insiders, and welcome to our debut. We have a great cast of correspondents that will be with us throughout this tenure, and we have some very, very good names and people that you know and love and follow. Let's bring those guys in, starting with Mr. Wilton Jackson. How you doing, Wilt?
I'm doing good, guys. Good to be here. How are you?
Doing well. And we got Keisha Kelly from the Black College Experience. How you doing, Keisha? Can she hear me?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
All right, good. And we got
Ray Rogers. I did. It was a delay, but I said I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me now? We're doing a Verizon commercial, Keisha. All right.
I've heard you all 3 times. It's like you keep freezing, but I heard you.
All right. Ray, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. What's up, family? Good to be here with everybody.
All right. Guys, we got Kim Davis as well as Wale. They are going to be with us as well. Just not tonight for Wale. Kim may be with us a little bit later in the program. But let's start off and talk about your backgrounds, and I want everybody to be aware of who you are and why we are a part of the Black Sports Insiders. And it starts with ladies first. Keisha, talk about yourself and what's going on with you. And you had a busy weekend.
I did. Very busy weekend. I started my weekend at your spot, the house. So, I started at BT Harvey Stadium with the season opener with Morehouse and Edward Waters University, with Edward Waters ultimately taking the victory 28-11. So Black College Experience was on that coverage for the weekend. Really great game, really great atmosphere. In the beginning, they kept that game pretty close. A lot of things happened, but even with so many turnovers, there was plenty of turnovers. I think it was like 9, but Edward Waters University did walk away with the, with the victory. I really expected Morehouse to do a little bit more, but unfortunately, that did not happen. Looking for redemption this weekend as they played Johnson C. Smith. And if anybody checked out the Red Tails Classic yesterday, we see Johnson C. Smith beat Tuskegee.
Yes.
So Morehouse, we don't know if Morehouse is going to go 0-2 or if it's going to be redemption week. So that's what happened for me this weekend. It was a busy weekend, some other personal stuff, but I'll stay in the AUC, but this time I'll head over to Clark, Atlanta
Oh, you want to see the high flying and high powered Clark Atlanta?
He wants to watch David.
I want to see Clark. Well, y'all know Clark Atlanta takes on Allen this weekend, so that storyline is going to be pretty interesting. Knowing that Coach Keaton came from Allen University, so I'm excited to see the red field. But yeah, and David Wright. Excited to see David Wright with those. Those stats were just crazy. But yeah, very excited about this weekend.
Well, whenever you have the Cole brothers around a program, you're going to anticipate a lot of good offense and some good defense as well. But I'm pretty sure Johnny Cole was loving it to see how his brothers kind of took those guys up to a different level over at Clark Atlanta.
Right.
Ray, let's talk about the MEAC. MEAC was pretty interesting this weekend, man. How do you feel about what you've seen thus far with some of the teams of your note?
I'm extremely excited. As we saw, Morgan State got the big victory against Hampton, reminding Hampton where they came from and where they need to return to. I just want to throw that out there. So I'm so glad they got that win on the road. And the MEAC faithful know that Hampton should be back in the MEAC. Hopefully we can make that happen. You just mentioned Morehouse. Hopefully we can slide Morehouse over to the MEAC at some point as well. But excited for Delaware State, especially because they got a big win against Sacred Heart. And as you know, they went through the travel concerns week 1. It kind of created some bad publicity, but Lee Hall gathered that group and they were able to get a big win outside of conference. So the MEAC is going to be extremely interesting. Morgan State, going back to them, known for their defense, actually had sort of a shootout and ran for 200-plus yards against Hampton to get that W. So that was interesting. And South Carolina State, as I know we're going to talk about them tonight, to see them compete against the number 25th ranked FCS team in the country and really come so close to pulling out a win. Should have probably won. Again, I'm a bit biased, but FAMU, we know who FAMU is. Even with all their turnover, they're still so tough. They got a great quarterback in Richardson. That was a good game to watch. Just an exciting week of MEAC and SWAC and CIAA, SIAC football. The HBCU should be excited about this coming season.
Well, look, let's talk about this CIAA dominance over the SIAC. What's this about? What's going on here, Keisha? What happened? They just was whooping up on the SIAC.
It was. And, the crazy thing is that the SIAC comes over to the SWAC this weekend. You got Savannah State headed to Baton Rouge. You got Tuskegee headed to our country cousins in Grambling. So, it's going to be crazy. But I always tell people it's still X's and O's. Anything can happen. So I'm not just going to automatically say, hey, they're going to win the game, because anything could happen. But I was excited for the CIAA. No lie. I was excited for the wins, with the CIAA. But yeah, the CIAC gonna have to tighten up. They're gonna have to tighten up this weekend.
All right, Commissioner Holloman. Come on, man. What's going on, baby? You my boy now. We got to do it for the SIAC. If you guys don't know, I'm a Morehouse man. So yeah, we SIAC all the way. But CIAA, and I love Commissioner McWilliams Parker. That's my favorite commissioner. I go on record to saying that. But those guys have really put on a great show. Will SWAC.
Man, it's gonna be a wild time in the SWAC this year, boy. I wasn't weekend, but this upcoming week I'll be at Jackson State versus Lane, and then I hate to say it, Keisha, but I'll be at Jackson State versus Southern in Jackson. So that'll be that's the week of the 14th. But we won't even get into that yet right now. That deserves a whole nother topic by itself. But this weekend, just between South Carolina State and FAMU, like I knew that game would be close. Some people had, FAMU taking a higher edge than what it would be, but like I was really glad to see South Carolina State compete like they obviously compared to where they were last year. Chennis is like he is as advertised as he's gonna be, and having the chance to talk to him this week leading up to the game. I mean, it was you could tell you can feel his energy in the way that he talks to you about his team, and basically what you get from him is what you get from his team, and that's what you got out there on the field. You talk about their quarterback in Eric Phoenix and their running back, what they're able to do in that particular attack. But like they were not scared of FAMU at all. At Bragg Memorial Stadium, you're talking about a long, the second longest FCS winning streak on the line.
Right. 20 wins, now 21.
Right. So they had FAMU on the ropes. If that says anything, that says if you're North Carolina Central, that says if you're Morgan State, that says if you are Howard, that end of November, it's gonna get real fast. So South Carolina State was down last year, but they will be back up. That's just one game, and then of course Texas Southern, Prairie View. I was really glad to see that game, turn out the way that it did. To see Texas Southern get the win, I will not say that I predicted that. I think a lot of people didn't necessarily predict Texas Southern to get that win. I thought we all kind of felt that with Coach Chris Dishman coming into Texas Southern as his first year. You're thinking like, okay, it probably won't be a blowout considering it wasn't a blowout last year. But you just didn't know what you were going to get. But you quickly found out this is a very physical Texas Southern team.
Well, go ahead. Let me chime in right there because Chris Dishman had to tell you guys, he started it off. He said, why not us? That's what he was saying. Why can't we go to the Celebration Bowl? That is our goal, to be able to put a team together and not just go, but win the Celebration Bowl. And I heard some snickers from the media at that press conference when he was talking about it and everything else. But Coach Dishman, he was serious, y'all, and he proved it. But think about this. They had a good recruiting class, but they also had some of the best professional coaches that were out there as well. You talk about a guy like Kimball Anders, who is in the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame as a running back. He's one of the coaches on the staff. And you have guys from UFL as well as NFL that's on his staff. It's a totally different feel and vibe over at Texas Southern when watching those guys for the two scrimmages that I did see them this year, but also how they're preparing these kids is a lot different than from the previous administration, I should say. Not to just besmirch my boy, Coach McKinney, but I'm going to tell you, if they are able to keep that quarterback upright, Texas Southern is going to cause a lot of problems for people. And I always have this saying, if you don't have a quarterback, you ain't got much. And these guys have a quarterback that they're fielding out there. So it's good to see what's happening with Texas Southern. They ended a 9-year losing drought to PV, and the PV fans were not too pleased. I can tell you that. No, they were not too pleased, but it was good to see. All in all, it was a good game, a good vibe, a good atmosphere out at Prairie View at Panthers Stadium. Any shocking storylines there, Keisha, that you have on your mind before we go into the interview?
Yeah, let's talk about the Orange Blossom Classic.
Yes.
That was going back to that, talking about, two quarterbacks and knowing that Andrew Body did not. Now, when you talk about a quarterback, because he was at Texas Southern, they had a quarterback. It's just now you got to have the pieces around the guy. But if we look at Orange Blossom Classic, and let's just say, for sake of argument, he played the full game. What would that have looked like if he played the entire game? Nevertheless, to say that they were down 21-7 at halftime, and you only lost by one touchdown, that says a lot.
Yes.
So, not taking anything, and this is the thing that I was trying to get people to understand last night. We don't want to focus on Alabama State losing, but more so on North Carolina Central winning. I know Coach Oliver is one of those people. He's a man of few words, but when he talks, you will hear him. He's one of those people. He's been like that. When he speaks, you will hear him. And even when I was listening to post game last night, he said some stuff. So, he's just one of those coaches. But that was one of the most interesting games, just watching it, just going from 21-0, then 21-7, and then you get to 21-14. And then they still were going, North Carolina Central were hitting on every angle that they could. And then you look up and it's like, oh, okay, well, you're only down by one touchdown. I really thought at some point Alabama State was gonna gun it in there and make it, but that was probably the most interesting game.
Well, look, man, I'm gonna tell you this much. I think Andrew Body proved to a lot of people that he is a great quarterback.
Absolutely.
Just give him the opportunity to throw the ball. That was my thing. I was kind of shocked that he did not have more opportunities there. Of course, we know what he can do with his legs, but I seen him at Texas Southern have 300 plus yards days and multiple touchdowns. So he can sling the ball. I'm just not quite sure how right now at the beginning of the season the fit is for those guys going forward. Plus, the injury, we don't know how significant the hand injury for Andrew is at this time, and we're praying that it's not significant, because to lose him will be a significant blow to the Bama State program, man. So right now, it looks good for Trey Oliver, of course. And I know you love that, Ray. You know, Trey Oliver is your boy, and I know you got him on payroll and all this other stuff. But, you know, Trey Oliver, he is number one right now in the power rankings for coaches, in my opinion. So great game, great atmosphere. Let's start with you, Wale, and me, Ray, and Wale. You guys are going to be covering another game this weekend. Let's talk about that after this. But let's start it off with Chennis Berry. I know you had a chance to be able to visit with him before the Florida A&M game. Talk about what you heard from Coach Berry.
So in talking to Coach Beard, he basically gave me, some insight on like what this team will look like this year, and what basically fans can expect. Like, obviously, he brought a lot of players over from Benedict, where he was last year, and led them to a championship. He essentially talked about their quarterback, their bevy of running backs. They had a Georgia State transfer, Casey Adams, of course, the running back that came over from Benedict last year. There was another running back they got some time in between that time on Saturday, but like they have, and then not only that, the quarterback, the running backs, but their offensive line has a lot of continuity. They have 3 players along that offensive line that had maybe about 30 or 40 games of experience. So as you can see, they were able to run the ball and what have you. So I'm really excited to see what South Carolina State is going to look like as they continue to gel, because obviously there's still some things some missed opportunities that they had in that second half. Had they made some of those plays and capitalized on some of those opportunities, you might be talking about a different game. This is the South Carolina State team that literally took FAMU to the wire at Bragg Memorial Stadium. It's hard to win at Bragg Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, it's hard to win against the Rattlers because they keep striking on you, baby. Yeah. So it was a great game, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to say this is the last we hear from the Bulldogs over at South Carolina State. So let's hear what your interview with Coach Chennis Berry had to go down, and let's talk a little bit about that afterward.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I have Coach Chennis Berry, South Carolina State football coach. Coach Berry, it's good to have you on today.
Hey, man, how you doing today, man? It's great to be on, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for joining with us. So, Coach Beard, obviously, I'll jump right into it. You're getting ready to start your first season at South Carolina State. What's been going through your mind so far? First game this weekend against FAMU. What's been your mindset for your players?
Well, a lot of excitement is in the air. Anytime you have a new beginning, man, there's a lot of excitement, not only with our players, but the community as a whole, the alumni as a whole. Everybody's excited about this new season. And our young men have been really fired up, man, been practicing well and getting ready for our first opponent. They don't make it any easy to get started, man. They send us down to defending national champs, man. But we'll find out who we are as a football program when we go out there, and I got to be ready to go.
Absolutely. And you talk about finding out who you are just based off where you've been thus far through fall camp. What did you learn about your team? And what did you learn about yourself as a coach?
Well, man, I just press our guys every day to just seize the moment. Whatever that moment is, man, just seize the moment. We have a great opportunity, though. The word we've been preaching all week as we get in the game week is just understanding the urgency of now. The urgency of now. Like that now acronym is no opportunity wasted. But we have an opportunity to go down to Tallahassee, Florida, to to do what a lot of people don't think we can do. And, but it doesn't matter what the outside people think, as long as we believe in-house and our young men be chomping at the bit, ready to go. And we've had a great camp, man. The guys have really been flying around and, building the teamwork and the comradeship. It's another acronym we've been talking about on campus, team. Regardless of where you're from, it's about the team. And that team is together, everyone achieves more. It's about the team. It's not about, yes, we have a lot of newcomers, whether that be high school guys or that be transfers, but we have a lot of new players. All right, so we have to mix the new guys with the guys that have been in the program that have built the foundation. Then when you look up, we got a really, really good football team. So we'll get a chance to put that on display this upcoming Saturday at Bragg Stadium versus a really, really good Florida A&M football team.
Absolutely. Coach, you bring back your more so you have quite a few players that you brought with you from Benedict, also some other players that returned to South Carolina State. One of the biggest things that people wanted to know for South Carolina State is who are you using or who's going to be the next quarterback after Corey Fields? Obviously, a popular name that keeps coming up is Eric Phoenix. Is he the guy for South Carolina State to start this season on Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely is. Eric Phoenix is a very, very talented individual, man. That has a good grasp of what we're doing offensively. He's a true dual threat quarterback. He's very cerebral, very smart. He's a student of the game. He wants to be a coach one day. So, having him out there is kind of like having another coach. He's a really, really talented individual, like I said, dual threat guy. And he's won the job. I mean, he's won it over his teammates. His teammates love him, and he spends extra time with the receivers just to get the comradeship, things of that nature, making sure they're on the same page in terms of camaraderie. But Eric Phoenix is really a guy that I look at, man, to have a chance to do some amazing things this season. He just got to play his game and take care of the football and distribute the football to his playmakers that surround him.
Absolutely. Before I get into some other football questions, I want to just ask you this, Coach. At this time of year, you're usually preparing Benedict, and now obviously at South Carolina State, has it really set in that you're going to coach your first game on Saturday for South Carolina State?
Tell you what, it probably won't hit me until I run out that tunnel, getting ready for kickoff. It's a great place, man. When you look at South Carolina State, traditionally over the years, man, it's been a powerhouse program, one of the blue blood programs, HBCU football, and just to know now that I follow the footsteps of great people like Oliver Buddy Pugh and Willie Jeffries, man, and Bill Davis. Those guys have done great things here at South Carolina State, man. And now to know that I'm the new head football coach here, it's kind of surreal. But, I'll get an opportunity to go out there on Saturday. It probably hit me then, but we'll just, at that time, it's go time. There ain't no time to get sentimental and emotional. It's time to coach a football game and get those young men that we have going ready to play. And we'll be ready when we go down there to Tallahassee. Absolutely.
And you kind of hint on something that I wanted to ask you. The Post-Courier quoted you in saying that you follow in the footsteps of coaches like Buddy Pugh and Willie Jeffries. Have you even had a chance to talk to Buddy Pugh during this time in the transition and getting ready to start the season?
That's my guy, man. Absolutely. That's my guy. Matter of fact, I was with him today. Coach Pugh comes around quite often, man. But even if he's not around, he's a phone call away, man. He's been a great resource for me. I said, guys, one of my mentors, man. I've been looking up to him for a long time. You got to understand, Coach Pugh has an O-line background, and I'm a former O-line guy as well. So, I've been following Coach Pugh for a long time. When he first took the job here back in 2002, he's been doing some amazing things. So he and I have a great relationship. I reach out to him all the time just for wisdom a lot of times. It might not even be about ball. There's so much wisdom with Coach Pugh, man. I have to reach out to him sometime and just try to get some advice. So it's been a great resource for me, as well as Coach Jeffries. I went and spent some time with Coach Jeffries last week, and he's doing well. He's as bright as they come, and just to sit with him, man. And you talking about wisdom. You talking about a comedian as well to make you laugh. But I have a great situation where I got right here in Orangeburg, South Carolina. I can reach out to two living legends.
Absolutely. Well, I want to get back into some football questions here. We talked about the quarterback. Obviously, you have some running backs, Kazarius Adams, DeAndre Duhart, Tyler Smith. Obviously, DeAndre has experience with you from Benedict. And then, of course, you have Kazarius Adams. Obviously, the MEAC is one of those conferences where you have to be physical. You have to be able to run the football. Is that something that South Carolina State is going to put its emphasis on in this season?
Well, you just named three really, really good running backs. You named a physical, downhill, slasher, powerful, every down back in DeAndre Duhart that has a great understanding of what we're doing offensively. You named Tyler Smith, who's from a great Gaffney High School program, who's a guy that's on our leadership council. He power cleans 345 pounds. He's got amazing speed and an amazing burst. And then you ended it with KZ Adams. Man, KZ Adams is a young man that transferred to us from Georgia State University, but he's from right here in South Carolina. He's the second leading rusher in the history of South Carolina football, man, and that speaks a lot in itself. So, and he's like lightning. He makes people miss in space, and he's becoming a more complete every down back as well. So you named three really, really good backs. We have another young man by the name of Josh Shaw, who's special, as well as Demetri Stevens. So we have 5 running backs that are very, very talented. And here at South Carolina State, you better be able to run the football, in this league, in the MEAC. So we got some guys that can dot the I across the team.
Absolutely. And for every good running back, they're only as good as the offensive line. And that was, obviously a concern at some point coming in when you first came in. But obviously you have some returners there in Nick Tice across that offensive line. How much is having him back there been a strong benefit for you coming into this season?
Well, O-line, that's how you build your program. You build it from the inside out. You better have O-linemen, D-linemen, and quarterbacks. And we're fortunate to have some really, really good offensive linemen here, man. Not many places in America say they're returning all 5 starters from last season. And I was fortunate to inherit 5 really, really good offensive linemen as well as really, really good human beings. And Nick Tace is the leader of that crew. Nick Tace is all that, everything he's advertised to be. He's big, he's physical, he's powerful, he's aggressive, he's smart, he's a student of the game, and he's on our leadership council as well. But we have Cam Johnson, and Cam is another talented individual that's been in this program. And then Eric Brown, those 3, that's our starting center. Those 3 themselves have had 37 consecutive starts here at South Carolina State. So you add in Trey Franklin, big offensive tackle. He's about 6'7", 330 pounds. He's talented. And we have a young man that's super talented named Roger Smith. He transferred from Benedict College, and then he was on start. He's got 24 consecutive starts. So add those guys together, we feel like we got a pretty good offensive line. The guys going to run out there this Saturday versus Florida A&M.
Absolutely. Speaking of Florida A&M, I'm sure you watched the tape and you watched the game that most of us watched on national television of what Norfolk State did to Florida A&M and being able to run the ball. When you see that, what signal do you get as a coach to say, hey, we might have a really good chance, or we should have a good chance in being able to run the ball against FAMU?
I mean, Florida A&M's a good football team, man, and they made great adjustments. Yes, Norfolk started off the game running the ball very well. FAM did a good job, and what most coaches do. Kudos to Coach Cozy and his staff. They made some adjustments to be able to slow them down a little bit, man. So we're expecting to just play our game, Any good football program, it's not about playing FAM per se. That's any good program in America. You got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to stop the run. I mean, that's half the battle. I mean, that's football, one-on-one. Whether you're talking about FAMU versus South Carolina State game, or you're talking about the Alabama versus Michigan game, whatever it is, it's about better be able to run the football and stop the run. So, ultimately, our young men will be ready. They know what, challenges we have ahead of us. We're playing a really, really good front. Guys, a lot of transfers on their front 7. And, we're going to have to come to play and play our best game to give ourselves a chance to win. So we respect them. We respect what they do. But we'll be ready to rock and roll when that ball kicks off this upcoming Saturday.
All right, guys, that was Coach Chennis. We will pick up a little bit more on his interview in a later date. We have 2 parts to it. Coming off that almost win, right? But I think it was a big plus for Coach Berry, especially his first time as a Division I head coach. Talk about how you feel about this program moving forward.
Think that when you look at South Carolina State now, and having talked on some other shows about South Carolina State and where this program is going to be, this is a program that wasn't that successful last year in Buddy Pugh's last season. If you know anything about Buddy Pugh, it's just like, man, you hate to see a living legend go out the way that he did. But to see what Chennis Berry did in his first game, like that to me, that showed a lot of promise from what was on the field last year. And just knowing that, like, their schedule, the way it sits, and then also knowing that, like, they have a chance to potentially compete in the MEAC this year. And like I said, I'm a person that until you beat the champ, they're still the champ. So of course, obviously Howard is still there, but from what I've seen, and you also have to know the pedigree that Chennis Berry comes from. He's no stranger to the SWAC. He's no stranger to HBCU football, period. We know that. But for him to come out and literally take the HBCU champs on the ropes at home, like the way that he did, says a lot. That means, like, this is the same FAMU team that beat Howard, who they're going to see at the end of the season at some point. They're going to have to play at North Carolina Central. So that means he gets a chance to see Trey Oliver. And we know what kind of coach Trey Oliver is. We already talked about that. So I think we're going to get some really, really, really physical games that's going to make or break a lot of teams. So we thought the MEAC was crazy last year in the last couple of weeks. This year, I feel like it's going to be even crazier.
Now, Keith, you know Chennis personally, and you know what type of coach he is. Just his resilience. What's the message that you believe he's getting over to his guys?
The same thing he's been saying for years: go 1-0. If anybody knows Coach Berry, it's always go 1-0. He's always been a go 1-0 type guy. So I believe that's the message that he is definitely relaying. And that's the buy-in. And like, Wilton was saying earlier, a lot of those guys came from Benedict. Mm-hmm. So, it's just the transfer going over to South Carolina State. But the crazy thing is like you said, going into Bragg Stadium and just having them on the ropes like that.
That's right.
A lot of people did not expect that. Me knowing Coach Berry, it wasn't a surprise to me. Because at any time, any team can be beat. Yep. So,
Well, we shall see what's going to happen going forward. Well, let's talk about the Morgan State Bears there, man. Morgan State, man, those guys, it's their time, I would say, for Coach Wilson. I mean, he's had a couple of seasons to kind of put this all together. And what was your conversation with him about going into the season?
Well, as many know, Coach Wilson was the head coach at Bowie State, who won 3 CIAA championships and 3 national championships under his leadership during his tenure at Bowie State. And now, like you said, this is his 3rd year at Morgan State. He's trying to put his stamp on this program. He builds mainly through high school graduates and high school seniors, which is what his plan is. Of course, you can't avoid the transfer portal, but he's very traditional. And also he wants to cement his legacy in Baltimore. He told me back at MEAC Media Day, I want Baltimore City or Baltimore, the area of football, to think of football as Ravens first, Bears second. And he's got the opportunity to beat the Towson Tigers coming up this Saturday, who he lost to last year after, of course, they were so close to upsetting Akron, just needed to run the ball out. They upset Richmond week 1, and they fumbled. Of course, Akron scores, and that big win against an FBS program turned into a loss, and then they had a hangover. They lost the Battle of Greater Baltimore to Towson, and he's like, we can't keep losing to Towson. We want to be known as Baltimore's college football team. So he's just trying to, like I said, cement his legacy. Of course, his teams play defense, but they ran for over 240 yards this past weekend against Hampton. And that's different for the Bears. They're going to bring it offensively, then look out, MEAC.
Man, that's much like his Bowie State teams. Mm-hmm. They'll run it down your throat. All right, let's listen to what Coach Wilson had to say.
This is the Urban Sports Scene with Ray and Wole, also part of Black Sports Insiders, and we're now joined by a special guest. Morgan State head football coach Damon Wilson is in the building. What's happening, Coach?
Hey, fellas, everything's good, man. Just getting off the field, really excited about the season.
Hey, Coach, it's been a minute since you joined us, and since the last time we had you, the great Jay Walker, he's an HBCU legend, you know, the NFL legend as well. He listed the top 5 most beautiful HBCU campuses in America, and he mentioned Morgan State at number 2 on that list. And I'm not gonna lie, I was hating a little bit as a UMES graduate, but I want to get your perspective. What makes the Morgan State campus so special?
Man, Dr. Wilson and administration has done a great job with our academic facilities and with the upgrades and the new construction. We just renovated several residence halls and opened up another side of the dining facility. I mean, it's top notch, you know, and one thing that our focus is now turned on to the athletic facilities to make sure they match or they mirror the academic facilities, because they are just as important. And that's one thing that attracted me to the job and to the position. And I'm excited to see these things continue to go up. You know, these buildings continue to pop up. That's great for recruiting, and that is great for the university.
Coach, yeah, go ahead, Ray. I was going to say, Coach, have you been to UMS campus? Because, you know, it's pretty dope. I'm just saying.
It's been some years. It's been some years since I've been there, but it's been a long time, actually. Mm-hmm. I went during a basketball season at one point, and had a good time on campus, but I haven't been in some years.
Yeah. So, Ray, what you about to say? I feel like I cut you off.
Oh, no, it's all good. I mean, it's not a football rivalry, so we can speak friendly to one another, at least for now. But getting into football, Coach, last time I interviewed you, you were talking about how you wanted Morgan State to be recognized as Baltimore's college football team. And to quote you, you said it should be Ravens first in the city, then Bears second. And I just want to get your opinion as to where you feel like you are in that process as far as getting your program to that place.
I think we're getting close. I mean, one of the things that we have to do is beat Towson when we get to that point. You know, Towson is the other FCS program in the backyard, and we're focused on Hampton right now. But the reality is, man, that they win the ball games, then they kind of have rights to the college team in the city, even though they're outside of the city. But at the end of the day, we're both located in Baltimore, and we want to make sure that we represent our university the right way as well as the conference. And Baltimore is a lovely place, man. It's one of those places that we embrace each other, embrace one another, I should say. And when the Ravens were winning last year, everybody was excited. I mean, it was just a good vibe in the community and that sort of thing. And I want to help enhance that experience for our youth and everyone else in the Baltimore city.
Yeah, Coach, you're talking about, the current season, Hampton. We're going to get into that, actually. But so going into the season, your team was placed 3rd in the MEAC in terms of preseason rankings. Do you pay attention to any of that? And does that motivate your squad?
I don't personally pay a lot of attention to it at all. It's good to know what your peers think about you. That's, the coaches and the SIDs in the conference, they pretty much have the vote for that. I've been in this business long enough now where we've been picked first, we've been picked last before. One thing that you want to do is be talked about in December and late November. That's really when you're doing things the right way. It doesn't matter, like I say, where you start, but it's how you finish. And I think this is a great opportunity to make sure we finish this thing the right way.
All right, Coach, I want to go. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go right now. Go ahead.
I want to go back for a second because you mentioned Towson, and your season started off so good last year. Of course, beating Richmond, you pretty much had Akron. You had the figure 4 leg lock, and you let go at the end of that game. And it felt like the next week against Towson that you kind of had a hangover because of that loss. I wonder if you agree with that. Even though you were able to turn around, you win 3 of your last 4 ball games. You were competitive against the top teams, Central, Howard. How do you carry that momentum? And would you agree that just that Akron game kind of hurt you sort of mid-season last year?
And you hit the nail on the head, man. We let one game beat us twice. And that's one thing we talked about in the staff meeting, is not to allow that to happen. The way that game was lost, it hurts. It still continues to sting a little bit because there's not a lot of times a FCS program has an opportunity to beat an FBS program. And we were right there. I think we learned a lot from that game. Our team learned a lot from that game. And I think that's something, a reference point that we had towards the end of the season and getting to conference play, which allowed us to come back in the Norfolk game. We were down that Norfolk game, and I think us experiencing that defeat like that at Akron, I think it actually helped our guys and got them to understand that as long as time's on the clock, we have an opportunity. And I think that was it was a growing moment, definitely, for this program.
Well, Coach, like this program has been growing since you got there in 2022. I just want to know, man, like basically at the MEAC, you're 500. What is like your secret sauce? You pretty much turned this thing around pretty quickly. What is your secret sauce?
It's not turned around yet. We still have a long way to go. But one of the things that I preach around here is being a family and being accountable for one another, believing in what we're getting done, having respect for people and within the program, and being selfless. Those are some of the things that we talk about here in the program. But I think the guys have brought into that family mindset. You can see it in the classroom where guys' grades are shooting, have shot up. We're looking at roughly around the 3.0 team GPA. It was like a 2.58 when I first got here. So, those things lead to success on the football field. We still have a long way to go. We're not there yet. It starts now. It started in camp with the new guys we added to the program to get those guys going in the right direction and getting them to buy into what we're doing. But the biggest thing I would say is just that whole family mindset and attitude is that we're instilling.
And Coach, you're speaking to some of the new guys you got on this team. In terms of folks who are just watching this show for the first time or just starting to get educated about your program, who are some of these new guys that you're referring to that can help you take your team to the next level?
As far as the newest guys, I would say that people may not know about, even though he's a returner, is Keith Jenkins. He's a guy that's been in the program, but we're going to do more with Keith. Keith was a defensive player at first. He's kind of new to offense, so we're going to move him around offensively and get some things done with him. We have some Ahmad McCullough on the defensive side of the ball, a linebacker that transferred in. He's a guy that's going to, I think, help us a great deal. Greg Young's another guy defensively that's going to help us. But it all starts up front with the offensive line and defensive line. We were fortunate or unfortunate, however you want to look at it. We had a very young offensive line last year. Those guys are returning, all of those guys together, and we've added a few more pieces to that group. We have one freshman that's really standing out, Blake Scriber from Ohio, that's really had a great camp. And we're looking forward to seeing what he does on the football field.
Now, in terms of returning players, obviously you're going to need them to step up. So for you to achieve the goal to get to the Celebration Bowl and win it, who are some of those players?
It starts with defensively, Elijah Williams, our defensive lineman. Then you have Eric Hunter, you got Carl Decius. Those guys have been kind of mainstays in our defense, and those guys are going to continue to lead the program offensively. I guess you start with the guy like Andre Crawley, who's a wide receiver senior in his senior season, who is definitely a leader on and off the field. And Danny's our starting center. But Taj is the quarterback. Taj is a guy that played some last year. We're coming back with him as a starter. I think he has a ton of potential. Went, I think, 3-1 as a starter last year. And it's about him actually, leading from day one and seeing what he's able to get done at the quarterback position.
Awesome. You're right.
Coach, you beat me to it because I was going to ask about Taj. We know what the Bears bring defensively. I mean, I covered some of your games last year. You had Brandon, Jordan. I mean, them guys, they hit. But offensively, it was like a carousel from a quarterback perspective. So I know you want to have some stability in that position. How confident are you going into this season that Taj is going to be the guy that's going to lead your team?
I feel really good, man. Taj had a pretty good spring. We implemented a new offense. He had a pretty good spring, and he's gotten a lot better over the summer as far as being familiar with the system. Deuce is still a guy that's in the program. Dominique is a guy that's in the program. We brought Kobe in. And we signed a local high school guy, Ray, right down the street from Maryville. So all those guys have gotten better over the course of the summer. But Taj, like I said, he's a gamer. He's a guy that wants the ball in his hands when the game's on the line. He has a better grasp of the offense. I think Coach Wright, our new offensive coordinator, has done a good job with him over this, since he's been here, just developing in him and get him not to panic in the pocket, make sure he takes advantage of the things that's there, not force the football, use his legs when the opportunity presents itself. So I think, once again, he's ready to roll, and we're excited to follow his lead.
And Coach, when you talked about Hampton, we all want Hampton in the MEAC, right? Like we all want the MEAC, for real. But it's a big game, a season opener. Finish the statement for me. Morgan State beats Hampton on the road if?
We stop the run and minimize turnovers.
Love it. See, that's that defensive mindset. See, that's real talk. That's tough football.
You have to stop the run. I mean, football is blocking and tackling, but they're a group of guys that believe in running the football, and they have some good backs that can do that, as well as their quarterback is a dual threat guy. So, we have our work cut out for us defensively and offensively. We must eliminate any self-inflicted pre-snap penalties types of deals and turnovers, and that'll give us a shot to win the ball game.
So, Coach, it sounds like you guys are prepared. I know it's been a long summer, as you kind of mentioned beforehand. You said we've been hitting on each other. It's time to go hit somebody else. But I also want to ask a quick question about your preparation. You sort of partnered with Mike Loxley over at University of Maryland to get your guys together for a practice. Just talk about that and how that factored into your preparation for the season and what that does for your recruiting as well.
Like Coach and I are really good friends outside of football. We have over 20 years of friendship, and it was a great opportunity to have the city of Baltimore come in and watch the FBS team in the state of Maryland and one of the FCS programs in the state. So it's really good. A lot of times guys can't go down the street, whether it's Pop Warner age students or whatever, can't go see Maryland at practice. So, hey, let's bring them to our backyard, and let's let these students know in this area that you have options where to go to school, and show that it's not a lot of it's some differences without a doubt from FBS to FCS, but with regards to schematics and the things that we're asking for and we're looking for, there are a lot of similarities as well. So, students to be able to see us practice at first and watch Maryland practice second was really a blessing. Our guys did a great job after practice, spending some time with their guys, just building those relationships. And, I think it was a great day for the community. Both of us are Under Armour schools. And, that was a great deal for Under Armour as well, just to have that done here.
Absolutely. Now, you're building your program. You mentioned before you still plan to build it traditionally with high school players, and that's difficult to do. But you've had some success, guys like Jordan Toles was just with the Ravens, and you coached prior to, right? That was with the Commanders. Then you coached him.
Yes, sir. Recruited Josh out of high school. Coach Sue, our D coordinator, recruited him. We had him for those 4 years at Bowie before we left and came here, and he's down with the Cincinnati Bengals. And he's done a great job, man. But that's important. We went in recruiting in your backyard.
Yeah, and I want to mention that, the number one pick in the NFL draft was a DMV kid. Try to keep these kids close. Baltimore, DC, we're seeing that you're making that effort. How challenging has that been? And I guess this is the last question is, what's your strategy moving forward? How important is this season in terms of your new recruits and your transfers? I mean, this is one of your years I think you expected to take that step up.
I think it's really important, like I said, to win and recruit in your backyard. And I think my prior relationships in the community has helped us some here at Morgan. But the biggest thing is we have to get a couple of transfers. That's part of the game now with the recruits. So we have a good number of underclassmen that we have to continue to develop, but we need to sprinkle in some more transfers. And we'll do that this year in recruiting. But all in all, I think the foundation has to be from our backyard, and that's exactly what we'll continue to do.
All right, Coach. Well, hey, we appreciate you joining us. The world is seeing this. We got to represent the MEAC for real on the big stage. Yeah. And you make the Celebration Bowl, you gotta beat the SWAC. Gotta beat
the SWAC for real.
And let me get to Hampton first, man. Good guys. Hampton first. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys. Okay.
Thank you, Coach.
Great season.
You got it.
Great season.
Man, that's a great interview that you had, Ray.
Somebody we covered at Bowie State as well, so we've kind of known him for a while. And I cover a lot of basketball, CIAA, MEAC, and whenever the football team at Bowie does well, the basketball team has the football team coming at halftime, and they just celebrate with the fans. So, been interviewing Coach Wilson for a while, and it's great to see him building something at Morgan State, which has a rich tradition when it comes to football, if everybody knows. But that quarterback, that's going to be the question moving forward. Todd Smith, 6'2", 190. He's got the size, he's got the skill, but he only threw for 75 yards in that win against Hampton, and he threw for 37 on one pass. So that's still a question that Morgan State's going to have to answer moving forward. We know defensively what a Coach Wilson team brings. And as you saw, they can run the football, 244 yards rushing. But that quarterback carousel, I hope it's not the same, but we'll see.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because I was about to write an article about this. Do we have a problem, or do we have a concern going forward this season with the quarterbacks in the HBCU football landscape right now?
Ray, you want to go first?
I'll let you take it first. I've been saying enough.
So I don't look at it as a problem. I think it's just more so the fact that it really goes back to the fit in what your program is looking for and how you plan to run that, how you plan to run your particular program. Maybe you don't need a quarterback who's going to throw 250 to 300 yards a game. We may not see another Davius Richards in North Carolina Central like that. We might not see somebody like that this year amongst HBCU football. I mean, it's possible, but at the same time, like, he was a special player. We know what Jeremy Musa did for FAMU. Here's the thing. You need a quarterback, but at the same time, you may not necessarily get that traditional quarterback that's going to give you these eye-popping numbers every single week. Now, what I will say is for Taj at Morgan State, we need more than 75 passing yards. Like that's to win a game. When you're not able to run the ball, you're going to be able to have to pass for at least 100 or 150.
All right. Well, I got to debate you on that one, man. And I'm just looking at what happened and not trying to call names, but Alcorn State's starting quarterback didn't really show up. He had to play 3 quarterbacks in the whole game, right? Yeah. You look at you have the young man from Texas Southern. He's injured. You may have Body injured as well. You have question marks across the board in a lot of these programs. You heard some Grambling Knights not too happy with what happened with Miles Crowley. You heard some Southern Knights not too happy with Noah Biden, right? So you have across the board a lot of people who are not too pleased with what's going on with quarterbacks. Is it a problem, or is it something that's correctable in your opinion, Ray?
I want to go back, and I'm sorry, HBCU land, for mentioning the name, but I got to. It's Coach Prime. And when he was asked a couple years back, how have you had so much success in the SWAC? He said, because we had the best quarterback and other teams could not throw the football. He said, if a team keeps running the football over and over again, it's going to be easy to stop. And talking to Connell Maynard, he said, Joe Gibbs, the only coach that has been able to win without having a quarterback. And you got to have somebody to spin it. And we've seen that. I think that Miles Crowley might be probably the most talented in all HBCU football. I really believe that. But unfortunately, because of just the instability with coaching, it has not translated to success for Grambling just yet. And I believe that in addition to having strong quarterback play, you got to have the coach and the quarterback on the same page. And what we saw Eddie Robinson, I just think that's not the recipe. So I think it's the continuity with your head coach, your offensive coordinator, and your quarterback. And right now, that's a challenge for a lot of HBCU football teams. And if you want to be successful, I think you need to have strong quarterback play, or at least consistency, and you got to have strong game planning.
And a strong offensive line.
There you go.
The old general manager and Hall of Fame executive Bill Polian said this: the most important guys are the guys closer to the football, the quarterback, your offensive line, and on the flip side, that defensive line, right? And I saw a difference at Texas Southern. And Jace Wilson, newcomer of the year, he did take over for a few series and did score a touchdown. That's a whole system where you had Cooper doing what he did for 3 quarters, then Jace comes in and still scores. That's good coaching, as well as a good offensive line that took control of the game. You saw that early on in South Carolina State against FAMU. You saw it in Norfolk early on against FAMU as well. In the offensive lines, if they can just sustain themselves throughout all 4 quarters, I think you have a good team. But you still have to have somebody back there managing the game well. And right now, I wonder if we have that talent. I shouldn't say the talent. We have guys who have been able to evolve into that system right now. Go ahead.
I just want to say real quick, if you notice, whenever FAMU falls behind, they've been behind the last 3 times we've seen them, they never panic. You mentioned Musa, Daniel Richardson this season. It makes a difference when you got a guy you're confident in, and especially experience helps out with Richardson.
Look, you have, thank you. 4 years, 3 with Eastern Michigan, right? Central Michigan, right? And then he was with Florida Atlantic, right? Yep. And the kid is calm, poised, and I saw him against Oklahoma State when he was with Central Michigan. He had 400 yards of passing that game.
Yep.
You understand? And if it were not for a porous defense, they would have had the upset against the Cowboys. So I don't know what's happening over in Jackson State there. Well,
I want to say something about Richardson before I get to Jackson State. The one thing about Richardson, though, and that maybe some other quarterbacks may or may not fully have, some do, but one thing I've seen from him, from when he played in previous teams and even now, his ability to extend plays. Because how many times where they may have came and brought pressure, but it forced him out of the pocket, but yet he's still able to make a play, whether it was running or him throwing the ball. So that, believe it or not, on their comebacks, that has helped them out a lot. Especially, I can't remember what drive it was, but I want to say it may have been that drive in the third quarter against Norfolk State where he had to get out of the pocket and make a
17-yard run. I remember.
It was a run or pass or something like that. But like being able to extend plays changes everything. Just ask Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson.
And I saw it this weekend with KJ Cooper.
Prime
big
example.
Body, 6'3", 6'4" kid, fast, has a rocket of an arm. I mean, he was throwing the ball with pro football velocity on it. Yeah. And I'm just telling you, having a quarterback makes a difference. Whether we want to say, I saw Jada Bayer had over 200 something yards for Virginia Union, right? Yeah. But when you talk about playing with the big boys, you got to have somebody who can tote the rock and be able to also have a guy that can be able to distribute the ball well, in my opinion. All right, guys, we got a couple of minutes left to the program. Feel great. Thank you guys for being able to join in with the Black Sports Insiders. We have a great couple of shows for you guys coming up. Next show on Thursday night, D'Amico Ryans, the Houston Texans head coach, will be interviewed by Kim Davis, and we'll have a special interview with Steve Gaither from HBCU Game Day as well. And we have a couple of other great shows next week. We'll have Tamika Reed from Jackson State, now with the 49ers at North Carolina, Charlotte. She will be making an appearance with us as well. And hopefully we'll get Commissioner Jackie McWilliams Parker here from the CIAA to talk about the diamonds the CIAA has had over the SIAC. I'm just kind of sticking that fork out there. Well, guys, thank you so much. Will, tell everybody how they can follow you on the World Wide Web.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Wilson Reports and on Instagram at Wilson Reports _.
All right, straight to the point. And guys, one of the reasons why we have Wilton Jackson with us, he's formerly from Sports Illustrated, but also Wilton is an award-winning journalist. He has multiple degrees. He's a professor over at Jackson State University as well as right for the competition over at Anscape. I ain't mad at you, man, but I love you always. But he's a great journalist. And we have Ray and Wale. If you saw those guys just with the interview with Coach Wilson, they just bring it. And they're two fine young men, and you're going to see them up and coming, and they just bring it. And he does a great job covering football as well. So that's why they are part of us. So, Ray, how everybody can be able to find you on the World Wide Web?
Oh, check me out on Twitter at @urbansports_Ray, Instagram @urbansportsRay. And you can follow the urban sports scene on all your major social media platforms. Again, Instagram, Twitter, check out our Urban Sports Team Facebook page. Also, go to our YouTube channel. We broadcast weekly every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. That means 7 p.m. Central. And we cover a lot of sports, including boxing, DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, Commanders, Mystics, Wizards. But, of course, we got our HBCU. So, yeah, pull up and check us out, fam. And we'll say what's up to my man and say
he's in that tri-state area, man. He's always in that tri-state area doing something. All right. I'm Kyle T. Mosley of Black Sports Insiders with Welton Jackson as well as Ray Rogers. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great evening.